Uh-oh. Some more revelations coming in. Fox News can now confirm that there was indeed another Russian entity at that meeting with Donald Trump Jr. about a year ago. So besides Natalia Volosnitskaya, who apparently was known to U.S. authorities and, in fact, was even working here with her visa expired, and it was not deemed a very big deal with the Obama administration at the time. That's fine. That's fine. But that there's another person who was a former ex-Soviet counterintelligence officer. Now, in that capacity, was also sitting in on this meeting that included the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., and, of course, Paul Manafort, who was the campaign chairman at the time, and Jared Kushner. So, what to make of that? We've got former Whitewater independent counsel Robert Ray. Just that alone, Robert, what do you think?
Well, the first obvious question would be whether the participants in the meeting knew that that other person was coming. That may or may not have been disclosed at the time that the meeting was scheduled with the Russian lawyer.
Would that have made a difference?
Might have. I mean, people always say, well, oh, the first thing that should have been done when they made a request is that that should have been disclosed to the FBI and the meeting should have been refused. I'm not sure that a meeting with a Russian lawyer would qualify as something that I would otherwise be disclosing to the FBI.
Well known in Washington by both
Sure.
sides. That's essentially what the president said yesterday in Paris, that this is politics. I'm paraphrasing here. Of course, you're going to try to get a meeting with someone who could give you information on your opponent. That's the way it works.
And I don't disagree with the president. I think he's right about that.
Does it raise any alarms in your case, as Lindsey Graham was trying to say, that if this is a Russian entity, you go to the FBI with that?
In and of itself, I mean, I don't think so. If it had been me, I wouldn't, and especially
Really?
after the meeting was over, I wouldn't have said, oh, geez, let me just, pick up and put a phone call to my friendly FBI agent, especially if nothing came of the meeting.
But, Robert, you walk into that meeting and then you come to discover, well, what's this guy doing here?
That might raise questions,
Really?
and I think that's a legitimate source of inquiry. I'm sure the special counsel is reviewing that, and my guess is that someone has already figured that out in terms of vetting this, the lawyers vetting this with the people who are the participants in the meeting, and my guess is that one of the lawyers probably leaked this to the media, which is how we now know about the fact that there was another person who attended.
Who's doing the leaking?
It could be anybody, but anybody obviously with access to the information. There are a lot of people now combing through, both in preparation for and agents with the special counsel's investigation.
So when you were investigating Whitewater with the Clintons and all, and I know information takes you on paths that you didn't originally envision, but in this case...
Did it ever?
Right, exactly. But here, it always raises suspicions, even though it might not be suspicious. What else didn't you tell us? What else didn't you?
Right.
Right?
The drip
right.
out of Washington from a public relations standpoint and a political standpoint is a disaster, at least not desirable at a minimum.
So does it set up alarms in your head? Okay,
no.
What else are they not saying?
Well, look, investigations are complicated things. There's a lot of information to be asked. Any one person who comes in contact with something that is under investigation discloses to the best of their ability what they remember. What you remember about things comes in bits and pieces. That's the way the human mind works. That's the way people remember things. Right. From an investigative standpoint, it takes months after talking with all of the participants and all of the possible information that you can glean and the email and everything else. I mean, what you know at the beginning is only a small fraction of what you know at the end.
Here that raises your antenna?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, there's an awful lot of talk about collusion. There's no such thing as a federal collusion statute.
Collusion applies more to business undertakings, yes. Right?
And, look, from a business perspective, the worst thing that you could ever do to a business person, especially people at the level of the Trumps, is waste their time. I don't think they had their antenna up for, oh, we're meeting with, somebody from Russia. I mean, look, the tease was they might have the missing 30,000 Hillary emails, or they might have information about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation.
And Donald Trump himself had raised that, in fact, hoped that during the campaign.
So if you were in a campaign under those circumstances, wouldn't you have been interested to take a meeting to hear them out? I would have.
All right, so you're Bob Mueller. You're interested in all these developments, right?
Of course, and you're particularly interested in who was in attendance. And also...
So has this lengthened his investigation?
I mean, with regard to this additional development, I don't think significantly.
He might already know about it.
He probably already does know about it, which is why we now know about it.
Right. I had a guest not too long ago, Robert, who was saying This is being leaked within the White House from those in the White House. Even mentioned Jared Kushner is doing it because he was preparing to testify on Capitol Hill, and this would come up, and all that. Then he released it. It gets really crazy. James
Neil,
Bond.
as you well know, high-profile matters where there's a lot riding on the results cause people to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do if this thing were all hidden from public view. It's no secret to anybody that lawyers within the White House leak, that the FBI leaks, that the lawyers involved in representing clients with regard to...
Would Jared Kushner leak on his brother-in-law?
Anything could be happening.
Would that surprise you if he did?
This is human nature. It wouldn't be a surprise. I'm not suggesting
Was
that...
stuff leaked to you? You don't have to be specific.
Of course.
And did you know who was leaking it?
Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
Were you surprised by the people who...
Not if you have had a little experience and have lived a little like we both have. That comes as no surprise.
I haven't lived like you, because you know state secrets that would get me killed. But do you ever look at these developments, Robert, and say, this is going to drag on for a long, long time?
As I have told you previously, and it may not be realistic, but experience has shown, having lived through this in Whitewater and having seen other independent counsel or special counsel investigations, in the country's interest, it's desirable if we can get to some significant resolution before the midterm elections. I hope that that's still the case. I think the country expects that and deserves that if possible.
That's more than a year away.
Well, it's going to take time, but a lot of other people have said, you know, don't expect anything other than that this will last the life of the Trump administration. And I think we learned during the Clinton years that's not good from the country's perspective. That if it can be avoided, that should be avoided.
How closely would you monitor and investigate the president's tweets?
As a special counsel?
Yeah.
I think largely much of that is not particularly relevant. I know it makes the news every time that happens.
Right.
But, you know, other than indications of intent, and there's no reason to suggest that a whole lot of energy is being focused with regard to the president specifically. I mean, I know a nominal topic of investigation is the president's firing of Jim Comey, but I mean, ultimately don't think that's going to come to anything.
Yeah, I'm not trying to lead you on, but would it make a difference? We know this meeting occurred at the Trump Tower. He was just the floor above. What if he bumped into these guys afterwards? Hey, nice seeing you. Stop by again. Try the Starbucks here. It's a wonderful.
Look, I think as many people have recognized in a modern world, tweets, text messages, emails, anything that's a contemporaneous record of what is happening on or around the time.
But if Donald Trump himself bumped into these guys or said hello. Now, you're a busy guy. It could happen. It's a busy office, a complex.
An appropriate investigation looks at things like that. Why? Because
Would you look at that and say, wait a minute?
It's revealing of intent. Well, you know, it's the President of the United States. So
well, at that time, he's not the President of the United States.
Understood, but he is now. And if I thought that it was necessary to do that as part of the investigation, that would be done.
Well, all right. Remind me not to get on your bad side. Robert Ray, former Whitewater independent counsel.